That was lovely. Thank you, Margaret. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Wausau UU, Universalist Unitarian Church of Wausau. And my name is Ian McIntosh, pronouns he, him. I am a friend of this congregation, and I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad I'm here, and we're all glad we're here, yes? All right. So whether you are joining in person here together or watching at some other time, know that you, regardless of your situation, who you are, how you present, whatever it happens to be, you are as welcome as the ones who first founded this place ever so many years ago. I am going not quite without a net, but if I forget and put something in the wrong order, please, I know I can count on your acceptance of that because you practice acceptance so readily here. So, okay, we did the welcome. Shall we do announcements? Okay, a couple announcements. One, there isn't coffee in the atrium today, so I'm not going to talk about red mugs, but Anna is going to come up, and she has something that she would like to speak to. Anna Gresh.
Good morning, everyone. Well, you all know that we are going to work on a ministry again with Warming Center folks. And we are going to provide the food, and they will be sheltered at the Methodist Church. And Amy and Andy are in charge of getting the volunteers to register the folks and give them their pajamas and so on. I am in charge of finding folks to help with cooking and serving and or making desserts, which you can just drop off at the church, cookies or bars. And what I would like, I have a sign-up sheet both in the atrium on the table and upstairs where you will get your plates and silverware for the potluck. I'm also have Brian's permission to ask for donations. We are going to be feeding we are to make food for 45 to 50 people. There were 41 there the other night, and people come back for seconds. So up till now, the folks who have done the cooking have donated the food. And that's not going to be possible for someone to keep donating for 50 people, cooking for 45 to 50 people. So I'm asking you, if you put a check in, it'd be better if you put it in the basket instead of passing, the tray at offertory so that it doesn't get mixed up. And if you have cash, that's fine. There's a sign on the baskets that say donation for food. And I would really appreciate both you signing up to help and to sign up for, or to contribute something toward the food. And we will do this every month on the second Thursday. And if it goes well, we may add another day or so as time goes on. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Second Thursday would mean this Thursday. Wow. Speaking of this Thursday, the church office is closed this week. It actually says in your bulletin through the 8th, which is Thursday, but I don't think the church office is usually open Friday anyway. Is that correct? Yep, okay. Now, I started to say we have the community potluck. I don't think I got that far because I was distracted because there was Anna. Yes, but the reason we're not having coffee downstairs is that we're going to go upstairs And yes, it's one of those things of, if you brought something, that's splendid, because the more the better, but the more the merrier too. So even if you didn't bring something, please come up, be social. Sometimes I just sit with a cup of coffee, but everybody is invited to grab a plate, most definitely. It's just for all of us in that moment. Let's see, last announcement. No, I think we pretty much covered it. Notice that when there's something in your bulletin about the giving that we did for Community Partners Campus during the month of April. It says what our third week Sunday donation was for that. And also that there is going to be next Sunday the Volunteer Honor Roll, which I understand is an annual special occasion. I am going to let you, the first time I did announcements to my mom's home church, it used to be mine, and I said, I trust you to read the announcements. And then people were asking me afterward, I trust you to read the announcements. Really, open them and look at them, yes? Let's take this moment now, though, because you're not reading, to greet each other, say hello, shake hands if that works, bump elbows if that works. Curious, yes. All right, and we settle into our spaces and we remind ourselves that whatever we brought with us, however we carry ourselves into this space, in this moment, we are creating a holy space. However you define that. And so I invite you to turn in your order of worship to the welcome and chalice lighting, and let's join together in the chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of love, and the fire of commitment. We light the symbol of our faith as we gather together. And now I invite you to take the gray hymnal in the rack in front of you or next to you. Stand in body or in spirit, and let's sing together number 128, For All That Is Our Life.
So this morning we're learning about how songs and music can change and how we can change them. And sometimes songs change because of the world we live in. We learn that words we used to use are not kind or not inclusive, so we change them based on what we've learned. Sometimes we have a friend who likes to make up songs on the playground. For instance, I'm sure some of us know a song that goes to Jingle Bells that involves Batman and Robin. You have to refrain from singing every Christmas while Margaret's playing the music for us. And sometimes it just sticks. Other times it changes just based on where you are in the world. For instance, in England, people dance to something called the hokey cokey, sorry. In Denmark, it's called the boogie woogie. And in 1857, there was a version that was, I put my right hand in, I put my right hand out, I give my hand a shake, 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 and I turn myself about. And lots of us will now know that's the hokey pokey. But even like amongst us, so I've got some volunteers who are going to help me this morning, we were talking about the end line. So that's what it's all about. How many of you grew up clapping to that line? So that's what it's all about, either clapped during or clapped at the end. A couple of folks, we had arguments because other people didn't learn it that way. So we're going to see which version we like better this morning. And as Unitarian Universalists, especially in religious education, sometimes we take songs we know and we'll change them to help our kids learn something in a new and familiar way. And for instance, I was letting Mia know, because apparently she didn't remember it, but we taught her preschool class how to learn the child sliding words by teaching them a UU version of the hokey pokey, and that's what we all get to do this morning. So first we're going to run through it. Garrett, could you pull up my slide for me? So this is the UU hokey pokey, and I'm going to let everyone stay seated so no one's got to get up. So we'll run through it once real quick, and then some volunteers are going to help me, and we'll do it all together. So our child sliding is open mind, helping hands, loving hearts. So you put your open mind in, which feels weird because you're going to put it out in front of you. You take your open mind out. You put your open mind in, and then we're going to shake it all about. You do the happy UU so you can dance, the happy UU, and you turn the world around, and that's what it's all about, and clap. See, and because I'm in charge, we get to clap, even though some people say you shouldn't be clapping. So we'll repeat that through, and then we'll do helping hands and loving hearts. So if my volunteers want to come on up and help me, I'm going to invite everyone, I'm going to move over here so people can see the screen, invite everyone to say the words and the motions with us. So you put your open mind in, you take your open mind out, you put your open mind in, and you shake it all about. You do the happy you, and you turn the world around. That's what it's all about. Awesome. You put your helping hands in, you take your helping hands out, you put your helping hands in, and you shake them all about. You do the happy you, and you turn the world around. That's what it's all about. You put your loving heart in, you take your loving heart out, you put your loving heart in, and you shake it all about. You do the happy you, and you turn the world around. That's what it's all about. Thank you, my wonderful volunteers and everyone who did this. And sometimes it's just fun to take an old song and learn it in a different way. And that was our activity for this morning. I invite our children and youth to head off to RE, preschoolers through 5th graders downstairs, 6th graders through 12th graders up to Walker Hall. And whether you're remaining in service or heading off to RE, I'll invite everyone to bless each other with our children's song. The words are printed in your order of worship.
Please join me in the spirit of meditation and prayer. I want to invite you to softly close your eyes. Take a moment to notice your body. See if you can make yourself just a little more comfortable. Settle into this space. Feel your collarbones broaden as the top of your head reaches up to the sky. And notice how gravity pulls on you as your feet press down toward the earth. Divine mystery, accompany us this day and always. Help us to perceive the sacred in the ordinary, to not take for granted those we love, to remember our abiding connection to those who came before us and those who left our sides too soon. Spirit of life and love, may we remember that we are beloved. May we remember that we are nestled in the arms of the earth. We are held by her ground, quenched by her waters, and made more human by her beauty. To these words, you are invited now to add your own silent prayers and intentions. May it be so, and blessed be. Please remain seated for hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
giving, like generosity, like hospitality that Anna was talking about, that we are showing to some of our neighbors, like acceptance, these are all practices. And Margaret could tell you, practice means you gotta keep doing it. And you gotta keep doing it. She was talking to me, I'm gonna tell on you. She was telling me before of a practice she has about walking. Whether she feels like it or not, she walks. And thus far, it's working for her. I bring this up because at this point, we have the opportunity to practice our giving, to practice our generosity, whether you write a check that you're going to put into the basket because then you know it doesn't get commingled, writing a check for feeding and welcoming our housing challenged neighbors, or whether you put some money in that supports the ministries and the mission of UU Wausau. All of this is practice. I encourage you in this moment to practice your giving, to practice your generosity, because it really does grow a different kind, but it really does grow that muscle. And thank you.
There's a joke about UUs which doesn't hold true here, but the joke goes, why are Unitarian Universalists so bad at singing hymns? Does anybody know the punchline? Do you want to say it?
Because we're too busy reading ahead to see if we agree with the words.
Yep, that's it. Yeah, so Unitarian Universalists are bad at singing hymns because they're always reading ahead to see if they agree with the lyrics. So this is something that we've been doing a really, really, really long time. I grew up UU in this congregation, and I took for granted that our hymns were just our hymns. I only realized as an adult that many of our hymns are sung at other denominations with very different lyrics than the ones we sing. The words we sing came from generations of Unitarians and Universalists who wondered whether they agreed with the lyrics. We've adapted hymns to make them more inclusive for more UUs. Inclusive language for the sacred, language that reflects our Unitarian theology and the ways that we center love. We change hymns with lyrics we don't agree with to songs of our faith, to true songs of our living tradition. At a congregation in Seattle, I heard about how in the 1970s, committees of women would comb through the hymnals with pencils. They crossed out patriarchal language. Words like Lord were crossed out, and they wrote in pronouns like she as a way to address the sacred. One example of a transformed hymn is Wake Now My Senses, which is number 298 in Singing the Living Tradition. This hymn is sung at many denominations as Be Thou My Vision. Just from the title, you can see how our UU theology is at work. Be Thou My Vision is about God being our eyes. It's about trusting and submitting to God completely. Whereas Wake Now My Senses, it's more humanist. It's more internal. It's about waking up. It's about awakening our senses to the earth so we can, quote, feel the deep power and being of all. The word senses here is more inclusive than vision because it acknowledges the many ways that people perceive our world, and it's implicitly more inclusive for those who are blind. But there are also unintended consequences of editing hymns. So for me, I really don't want to call God my Lord or my master. But editing the word master out of a slavery-era African-American spiritual removes critical context. For a slave, it was radical to call God master, to affirm that God alone is master. For today's sermon, I'm exploring the evolution of a song. How did John Brown's Body become Battle Hymn of the Republic, become Solidarity Forever? They are all the same tune, with all the same music. And for today, these songs are not meant to be for us true hymns, in that I'm not expecting them to be songs of our faith, songs with lyrics you agree with completely. And there is violent history behind these songs. Instead, I invite you to think of singing them as an opportunity to experience the impact of words through history. Exploring the evolution of this tune shows how meanings and movements shift over time. We just heard John Brown's Body. The tune for John Brown's Body first emerged in the American camp meeting circuit of the late 1700s and early 1800s. These were huge gatherings on the frontier, where people worshiped with traveling preachers. Camp meetings were known to be wild and filled with religious fervor. This tune may have started with a crowd repeating back the words of the preacher, and over time the refrain turned into a song, improvising on themes until it became a hymn. And this hymn was taught orally, spreading to other camp meetings. The first hymn known to have this tune is titled, "O Brothers, Will You Meet Me?" The lyrics included these: "O brothers, will you meet me on Canaan's happy shore? We will shout and give him glory, for glory is his own. Glory, glory, hallelujah." And for Black worshipers at these gatherings, there may have already been an anti-slavery implication in this hymn. "Brothers, will you meet me on Canaan's happy shore" could be about religion, or it could be about escaping to freedom. John Brown's Body is a song about the execution of John Brown in 1859. He was a white American abolitionist who tried to begin a slave uprising, and his actions contributed significantly to the start of the Civil War. John Brown is seen by some people as a hero and by other people as a terrorist. He is a complicated figure. John Brown was committed to abolishing slavery in a way that few were. He started out as a pacifist, but then later came to believe that violence was needed for action to truly take place. He was a strict Calvinist and a Congregationalist. Unitarian Universalists and Congregationalist churches have a long history together, and this shows up now in our strong partnerships with the United Church of Christ. John Brown was intense and buttoned up. He avoided swearing, smoking, drinking coffee, or drinking tea. He had 20 children, which is a lot. And compared with many white abolitionists at the time, he was more of what we would call a true ally today. He didn't just believe that the slaves should be free, he went out and sought real friendships with African Americans in his circles. He took bold actions. He opened his home to the Underground Railroad. Over his lifetime, he hosted 2,500 slaves escaping to freedom. He used to attend a segregated Congregationalist church. White families sat in the front and Black families sat in the back. To protest this, he got up with his very large family in the middle of the service. He walked to the back of the sanctuary and then pointedly asked a Black family if they would like to sit in his pew at the front. He later left that church and attended the integrated Stanford Street Free Church in Massachusetts. It was founded by Black abolitionists. Brown was inspired by the actions of the Black preacher Nat Turner to try and begin a slave uprising. Nat Turner led a slave rebellion in Virginia in 1831, which was then subdued by state militias. Turner was killed violently, and there was violent retaliation after the rebellion. So John Brown was very bad with money, and so he needed to receive financial backing for his uprising. And he had 6 prominent leaders who gave him money. These financial backers were known as the Secret Six. And today, we know that 2 of these financial backers were the Unitarian ministers, Theodore Parker and Thomas Wentworth Higginson. Theodore Parker wrote the phrase made popular by Dr. King, "The arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice." And a 3rd financial backer was Samuel Gridley Howe, and he was the husband of Julia Ward Howe, who we will soon learn wrote Battle Hymn of the Republic. In October 1859, John Brown led a raid on the Federal Armory in Harpers Ferry, Virginia, which is now West Virginia. He planned to take over the armory, the arsenal, and the rifle factory in the town. He would use the weapons to arm slaves and start a small army, which he believed would then liberate slaves across the South. He believed that he would start the first battle, and then others would take up the cause from there. Before he led the raid, John Brown met with both Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, and he told them about his plans. They both refused to participate. Tubman didn't want to do anything that would jeopardize the Underground Railroad, and Frederick Douglass thought of it as a suicide mission. After initially managing to take over the armory, Brown and his army were subdued by U.S. Marines, which were led in part by Robert E. Lee. Several of John Brown's sons were killed in the raid. John Brown was the first person to be executed for treason in the United States. He was killed 1 month after his trial, which was widely covered by the international press. John Brown said that he didn't want to be rescued. He wanted to accept his execution. He wrote to his wife from prison, quote, "My blood will do vastly more toward advancing the cause than all I have done in my life before." He was widely seen as a martyr. In response to the death sentence, Ralph Waldo Emerson compared John Brown explicitly to Jesus Christ. He wrote, "John Brown will make the gallows glorious like the cross." And Louisa May Alcott, the author of Little Women and another famous Unitarian along with Emerson, wrote a poem about John Brown. It's titled "With a Rose." It concludes, "No monument of quarried stone, no eloquence of speech, can grave the lessons on the land his martyrdom will teach. No eulogy like his own words with hero spirit rife. I truly serve the cause I love by yielding up my life." In 1861, once the Civil War had started, Union soldiers wrote the lyrics to John Brown's body collectively. They were referring both to John Brown and his martyrdom, and they were also making fun of a sergeant who was named John Brown in their battalion. The song became extremely popular, spreading by word of mouth as a soldier's song for the Union Army. Like early Christian martyrs, John Brown's perceived martyrdom was galvanizing. In the 4th century, persecuted Christians changed the meaning of power and death because of martyrdom. The Romans wanted to subdue Christianity, so they tortured and killed Christians with cruel creativity. They would do things like feeding the Christians to lions. In response to this, Christian theology changed. The least powerful in this new theology became the most spiritually powerful. Being tortured for faith was reinterpreted as an expression of spiritual power. Being killed for one's faith could elevate someone to sainthood. And the manner of their cruel death even allowed the saint to perform miracles which were related to their manner of execution. The cruelty and the power of the Romans was turned on its head. Their acts of terror meant to subdue only made the Christians stronger. By making John Brown into a martyr, his work was seen as holy. Singing about his body moldering in the grave and how his soul goes marching on, it transformed John Brown's story. He went from an example, executed for treason by the state, into a hero for the Union Army. I now invite you to rise in body or in spirit to join in singing the Battle Hymn of the Republic. The words are in your order of worship program notes. So on to Battle Hymn of the Republic. Julia Ward Howe was a 19th century Unitarian abolitionist. She was a poet and a feminist. She was well-educated, ambitious, and influential. She co-founded the National American Women's Suffrage Association, and she also founded Mother's Day in 1870 as a day for peace. She founded it as a day where mothers are to protect all sons from going to war. She served on a sanitation commission during the Civil War, and I can only imagine seeing so many wounded and dying soldiers must have made an impact on her. But 9 years before this, in 1861, Julia Ward Howe was on a long carriage ride to Washington, D.C. She was preparing to serve on the Sanitation Commission. In the carriage, she and her companions started singing popular soldier songs together, and after singing John Brown's Body together, the Unitarian minister, Reverend James Freeman Clark, suggested that Julia write more uplifting words for the tune. He thought the lyrics about John Brown's body were too irreverent. And then Julia Ward Howe went on to compose the Battle Hymn of the Republic that night in her sleep. She woke up in the middle of the night with the song in her head, and she scrawled the verses on a piece of paper as it came to her. She fell asleep again, and when she woke up in the morning, she couldn't remember the words that she had written, but they were there written on the piece of paper. She removed one stanza of the 6 that she wrote, but otherwise didn't edit the lyrics at all. The Battle Hymn of the Republic was published 1 year later in the Atlantic Monthly in 1862. These lyrics were then adapted again in 1864 by the all-black 1st Arkansas Infantry in the Union Army. Lindley Miller wrote powerful lyrics in the Song of the 1st Arkansas, such as these: "We are done with hoeing cotton. We are done with hoeing corn. You will have to pay us wages." The Battle Hymn of the Republic draws on imagery about the end of the world and the second coming of Christ from the books of Isaiah and the book of Revelation in the Bible. It positions God on the side of the Union in the war. And I will admit these aspects of this song make me uncomfortable. They don't align with my personal theology. While I believe that God is on the side of the oppressed, the sacred is on the side of the oppressed, I don't think that God would be on the side of any war. There is strange imagery in the book of Revelation. There are symbols, horsemen, seals, and a wrathful God stamping out injustice. I recently read the book Revelations by the scholar Elaine Pagels. She has a very interesting theory about the book of Revelation. She argues that prophecy in the Bible comments on the context in which it was written as much or more so than seeking to predict the future. The book of Revelation was written in the decades after the destruction of the Holy Temple in Jerusalem in 70 CE by the Romans. The Roman army destroyed the most holy and sacred site for Jews and early Christians as part of their brutal conquest. Pagels argues that in this context of being crushed by the Roman Empire, the book of Revelation emerged with coded symbolism about the injustice of Rome. For example, there's a theory that 666 is a code for the Emperor Nero's name. The book of Revelation describes how Rome will eventually get its comeuppance, along with all of those who brutalize and destroy. Perhaps this song, with its imagery of war and its imagery of an angry God, can be seen in its context too. Given the horrors of chattel slavery, maybe God's grapes of wrath are the only way to imagine the end of such a deeply entrenched institution. And now Solidarity Forever came later. It's a song celebrating unions and worker solidarity. It was written by Ralph Chaplin between 1912 and 1915, and it's most closely associated with the industrial workers of the world. Ralph Chaplin began writing the lyrics while working as a journalist covering the 1912 Paint Creek, Cabin Creek strike during what was known as the Mine Wars or the Coal Wars. The strike was a violent confrontation between striking coal miners and coal operators in West Virginia. The miners were striking to receive a pay increase of 2.5 cents per ton of coal. They wanted this incredibly small pay increase so they would be paid at the exact same rate as miners in a nearby county. The miners had additional requests which were quite reasonable: recognition of their union, respect for their right to free speech and freedom of assembly, and elimination of rules forcing miners to spend their pay only at company stores. Rather than agree to these reasonable terms, the mine operators hired 300 guards armed with machine guns. In response, Socialist Party activists sent the miners rifles. This became a violent conflict, which ended with state troops imposing martial law and arresting the workers who remained. This is the context in which Solidarity Forever was written. In this world, workers had few rights. They were subject to violence and dehumanizing treatment. And without unions, these abuses would have continued. Perhaps like the apocalyptic imagery in Battle Hymn of the Republic, Solidarity Forever imagines a world where justice is made real and the promised land is coming. Unlike John Brown's Body, this work doesn't come through a singular heroic figure. Unlike Battle Hymn of the Republic, this work doesn't come through an army or an avenging God. This work towards justice and the promised land comes through solidarity, through unions, through regular people, regular people coming together to, quote, bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old. This one powerful tune has lived many lives. Say, Brothers, Can You Meet Us? John Brown's Body, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, the Song of the First Arkansas, Solidarity Forever. Meaning changes over time. This song has changed over time. Our hymns have changed over time, and our theologies have changed over time. But running through all of these changes and all of these works is something constant. It's a call to love. It's a call for the promise of freedom. And it speaks to the ongoing need for justice. May it be so, and blessed be. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit to join in singing Solidarity Forever. The words are in your order of worship program notes. You are invited now to remain standing and to reach out with heart or hand to those around you. As we prepare to leave this sacred space, may we be blessed by community and know that we are held in love. Our closing words are by Nikki Giovanni. She writes, "I am old and need to remember. You are young and need to learn. If I forget the words, will you remember the music?" Please remain seated for our postlude. After the service, all are invited to gather in Walker Hall for our final potluck of the congregational year.
Before Margaret regales us with the postlude, in the spirit of solidarity, I ask you to join with me and we can regale Margaret, who this past week celebrated a milestone birthday. So if together we would sing happy birthday to, happy birthday to